about the Gnostic viewpoint is that if you were raised within the Judeo-Christian religion, any of the Judeo-Christian religions, you've been indoctrinated since birth with these myths. And a lot of people were told that they were literally true as well, or at least directly communicated by God in these specific words. You know, these types of things are what people have been told from childhood. And so they can still hold a very strong sway over a person, even into adulthood, even if you've been working on trying to deprogram yourself or broaden your horizons. It can still hold a very strong, powerful place within you because it's been there since birth, essentially. So this is a very powerful way of transmuting those, mental complexes and neural pathways into something that actually aligns more with how you personally, like, if it resonates with you, of course. It can be a powerful way of overcoming a lot of that childhood indoctrination and turning it into something that's actually empowering, and instead of just trying to push it aside or shove it down and say, oh no, that's not true, I'm not going to let that impact me anymore. You can just reinterpret it, and it becomes very powerful. Also, even if you're not indoctrinated with all that since birth, it can also be very useful to learn these stories from a Gnostic viewpoint, because it lets you look at the stories from a different way. And actually, sometimes if you're talking to somebody who was raised in that and still believes in the same way as they were taught as a child, it can be a way of using their own language to express certain concepts that might be really difficult to express otherwise if you don't use the terms that they're used to understanding. So that's one way that I when I started, it was sort of a way of kind of reinterpreting and taking it over for myself. But ultimately now I've kind of moved on, and I explore a lot of other paradigms, but it's very useful for me to be able to communicate concepts to people in the terms that they're familiar with, in the religious terms that they're familiar with, and just kind of give them a different perspective if they're trying to understand, if they're asking me about it. I don't proselytize or anything like that. Now, because Lucifer is more of a descriptive title, it's not just within the Judeo-Christian viewpoint that people see light bringer characters. There's mythologies from all around the world, and you can see the light bearer archetype in lots of different characters. So I kind of wanted to talk about a couple other ones that are very similar to some of the ones that you might be familiar with. So the Prometheus myth in the Greek and the Roman mythology is probably one of the best examples of the Lightbringer. If we lived in a society where more people understood what Prometheus meant, I might be going around calling myself a Promethean rather than a Luciferian, but Luciferian has a bit more impact, and it does really resonate with how I feel. That's the word that I connected with when I originally realized that I was Luciferian, and that's what I was looking for. Lucifer was the word that kind of clicked for me at that point, and it's really stuck with me. But Prometheus I find just as inspiring, or even more so. In the story in the main Prometheus story, I'll start off by saying that Prometheus, in a lot of the versions of the stories, it was actually the creator of humanity, and not Zeus or Kronos or any of those. The specific species on the planet, humans, were created by Prometheus in a lot of the versions. So we get to the situation where the old gods have been overthrown, and we have the Olympians in power in heaven or on Mount Olympus, and Zeus or Jupiter, if you're talking about the Roman system, but I'll just say Zeus for convenience. Zeus is king of the gods at this point, and humanity has been kept ignorant, animalistic, bestial creature. And Zeus kind of likes it like that because he can control them better. He can. They're unsophisticated, and they're more willing to follow what he says, and they're more scared of him, and they're more dependent on him as well. And so they make better slaves and better servants. And so he's happy with the status quo. But Prometheus believes that humans have much greater potential than they've been allowed to express or explore. So he actually goes in and steals the fire from the Olympians, the Olympic flame, comes down Mount Olympus and gives it to humans, teaches them how to control fire, which of course branches off into all kinds of other sciences, warfare, metalworking, even like cosmetics, and these types of things are all consequences of that knowledge that Zeus didn't want the people to have because it empowered them. And so he gets pissed off and punishes Prometheus for it and binds him to a giant boulder or a mountain, or a giant boulder on a mountain. And an eagle, which is a Jupiterian bird, symbolically, comes and eats the liver, and the liver is also attributed to Jupiter as well, or Zeus, in the most common attributions. It comes and eats the liver every day, and it regenerates itself every day, and he's in constant torment. Later, Heracles or Hercules comes and helps him get unbound, and also Charon, the centaur, also plays a role in that as well. But I won't get into the full story, but basically there's a lot of parallels to that story with the Serpent and Eden story. God, it's a tyrant, slave master, wants to keep the people ignorant. Somebody comes in, gives them the knowledge that they can use to empower themselves, and gets punished for it. The only thing is, in the Greek and Roman version of the Lightbearer story, Prometheus is seen as a hero, whereas currently Lucifer, or the serpent in Eden, is seen as the ultimate villain, damning us, oh, what, you got us kicked out of our parents' home, and we had it set there, we had the fridge fully stocked, and we just had to sit around and, weed the garden. But I think that the Greek and Roman version of that is a lot more inspiring, because it encourages you to be responsible for your own life and not to put your fate into the hands of the gods, to really take hold of your own life and do what you want to do with your own life.